Hey guys, walls are one of the most fundamental parts of any Revit project and a great place to start if you're a beginner. In this tutorial, I'll show you exactly how to create, modify, and manage walls step by step in Revit with a heap of tips and tricks along the way. Let's get started.
So I've got just our ground floor plan open in here. And to create a wall, we just need to come to the Architecture tab, click the Wall drop down, and then Wall Architectural. And you can see as soon as I've clicked that, it's put us in the Modify Place Wall command. And it's the interface has changed a little bit. So it's up the top, we call this is the contextual ribbon. So we can see that this is green. We've got some buttons up here. We've got some options along this row here, just above our working space. On the right, we have the wall properties. So if we click this, we can see the different types of walls we can choose from. And down the bottom left, we have a bit of a hint on what we need to do. So it says click to enter wall start point, which is what the first click that we're going to make on the actual in the workspace. But before we do that, we typically want to start in this row and set some of these properties. Note that we can change all of these afterwards, but typically we want to get it as accurate as we can from the get-go. So the first thing we want to do is set the height. So it's currently set to unconnected 8 meters, but we want to connect the top of the wall to level 1. So I'll just click that there. And you can see this is now grayed out. And if we come to our properties here, we can see that the top constraint is now set to level 1 and the unconnected height is 3,500 meters. And note that I can't change this because this is driven by the levels that we previously set up. So as we move those levels, the top of our wall is going to move, which is actually a really good way to control and manage the heights of your walls. So that's the first thing, to set that height. Secondly, we want to set the location line. So this is basically just saying that the lines or the points that you click, what do you want that to represent? Is that going to be the center line we're clicking on? Or is it the finish face, the exterior, or the core face exterior? I'm not going to go into the detail of what all of these mean. They're relatively self-explanatory. When it says core, all that means is the structural part. So if you've got a wall with structure in the middle, but then finishes and claddings and insulation and things on the outside, the core is just that structural part, and when it talks about wall, it means the entire wall. So in this case, I usually like to pick finish face exterior when drawing external walls. It just means that we can click on the external parts of that wall and pretty much model more accurately the exterior edge or face of each of those walls. So I'll click finish face exterior, and we'll leave the rest of these on. You don't need to change any of those. Next is to set your wall types. So if we come in here, we've got quite a few wall types already loaded in the project, and we can choose whichever one we want to use. So we might do a brick veneer 250mm timber. So we'll click that there. And the last thing we want to do is set the line type. So this here is something that you'll see quite a lot in Revit. It's basically a sketch mode, and you've got quite a few options or how you want to draw this. So we can draw with straight lines, we can draw rectangles, polygons, circles, arcs, and so on. So in this case, we're just going to use lines. So we're going to pick that line and zoom in here a little by scrolling up on the mouse wheel and just click and drag. You can see that dashed line that's on the top face or top edge of that wall. That there is representing our the location line. So you remember up here we set the location line to finish face exterior. You can see now that that line is on the exterior there. Note you can flip the wall by hitting space. So if I tap space, we're still drawing on the finish face exterior, but the wall is just being flipped. So the inside, in this case, the inside of our building would now be on the top of the page. In this case, the inside of the building would be on the bottom of the page. So I'm just going to draw like this. You can see those numbers there changing as well. So 9,800, 9,900, 10 meters. So I can click there, or I can also type in a specific number. So I'm just going to click here at 10 meters. We've got our first wall. Come down here, And same thing here, if I can either click or I can type. So this one I'm going to type, so I'm going to say 5.5 meters in that direction. Note that once you start typing, it doesn't matter where my mouse is. I can bring it over here, but this wall is staying in the direction that it was once I started typing. So you need 5.5 m, enter, and come across here as well. And you can see once I get to this point that it's snapping to the edge there. So I can just click that there and come back up here and hit escape to exit that direct command, and hit escape to exit the wall command completely. So you need to hit escape twice to completely exit any command. We can see here we've got 4 basic walls. If I select any one of these, they're all individual walls, but Revit does a pretty good job of joining those at the corners. If we look at our 3D view, by clicking default 3D view up here, and then tile the windows. I've got the little shortcut here, but if you don't have that there yet, you just need to go to, I think we covered that last week. You just need to come to the view tab, and you've got this tile views option up here. So you click that and it just tiles 2 views side by side. Like so. Just a quick note on that as well. Tile view, if you want to add any button to your quick access toolbar again, you just need to right click and click this add to quick access toolbar, and that'll add it down here, which we already have the tile views that we want. Okay, so you can see there's basically our exterior walls and in 3D, and that they're going up to that level 1 there. So if we click an elevation, see our east elevation. There you can see level 1, 3,500, and we can see these walls going directly up to there. If I select level 1 now and we change this, so let's say I drag it up, you can see those walls coming with it, and that's happening in all views, not just in the 2D view, but in the 3D view as well. So if we look at 3D view here, we can see level 1 now at 2,700 and the walls are down there. So we can also do that in 3D view. If I select this and say 4 meters, hit enter, you can see those walls coming up as the top is constrained to that level, which is how we want our walls to be constrained. So I'm going to close off this east elevation and hit our tile windows again, or tile views, just to look at the 2 side by side. And we're going to draw some internal walls now. So same thing again, architecture, wall, architectural wall. And note that Revit remembers your settings from the previous command. So our height is now set to level 1, and that's blocked out. So it's going up to level 1. The location line is finish face exterior again. And it's remembered the previous wall type that we used. And that's consistent across all the tools in Revit. It'll typically remember the last tool that you've used. So all we need to change here, first I might change the wall type and pick an appropriate interior wall. So let's say stud timber 90. And we might change the location line as well, just to show you how this works when we do center line. So let's go wall center line as an example. And we can zoom in here. And note as I hover my cursor over any of these lines, it gives us this that temporary dimension that I mentioned earlier that we're going to look at in a bit more detail in a second. But we can click anywhere here. You can see it's now 3 meters from the left wall. If I click, if I zoom in, you can see that dashed line now, and where my mouse was clicked is in the center line of the wall. So that's just that's all the location line basically dictates. So we can come out here, click, click. Again, you don't need to worry too much that your walls are perfect when you when you're first placing them, like walls and furniture, basically anything in Revit. Most things it's often easy to just drop them into the model and then modify them afterwards using the dimensions that I'm going to show you, and using some of the modified tools like aligning them and making sure that they're all in the right position. Often when we're placing them, we want them in, I guess, as accurate as possible, but it doesn't matter if they're quite off the mark. So again, to draw another interior wall, if I click here, drag across to, let's say, I'm just going to type in 5 meters and then drag up and click anywhere on this wall like that. And now it's wanting to draw another wall, so I just need to hit escape to exit that. But I'm still in the wall command, so I need to hit escape again to completely exit that. Just to show you how to do a curve wall as well, same thing again, wall architectural. And you can use this start and arc radius as an example. And just pick your start point, pick an end point, click, and then select your arc or how far you want to pull that out. So let's say something like that. And then here, click again, and you can see that this Revit's trying to snap nicely. So we can create any shape we want here, but at this point it's trying to snap it so that it's a smooth continuation from the first segment that we drew. So if I click that there and hit escape twice, you can see that there's like a nice curve wall. And if we look at that in 3D view, and pan around, you can see there's a nice continuous kind of curved wall in our project. If we want that to be, note that all these walls now are constrained to level 1. If we want them to have a specific height, not constrained to level 1, we can select them. So if I click to select this wall and then hold down Control to give us our plus sign so I can add to the selection and click that. We can come into the properties here and change that top constraint now. Say unconnected, and let's say it's just a feature wall at, say, 2 meters. Enter. You can see that that now is specifically 2 meters. It's no longer constrained to level 1. Okay, so hit escape. I'm just going to quickly add some more walls. So architecture, wall architectural, and I'm going to place 1, escape, and another wall here, and maybe one more in here somewhere. So I've placed 3 walls inside. We've got basically 4 walls here inside of our building or inside of our room. But let's say we wanted to equally space these. And how do we do that? It's quite simple. First, we need to place a dimension. So I click Align Dimension, and I pick the points that I want to dimension from. So let's say I want there to there. So I want each of these dimensions to be equal. I can place this dimension anywhere out here. I'm just going to place it. You should place it up here for a second. I'm just going to select and delete this. If I select this dimension, you notice you get this little EQ button up here that's currently crossed out. If we click that, you can see toggle dimension equality. It equally spaces each of those lines that we pick. So you can see this one here is slightly bigger, and that's because of where we picked it. But if we look at just these 3 for this example, they're now equally spaced. So if I grab one of these and drag it out, note that they remain equally spaced. And same with this here. If I drag it in, again, that's that equality is maintaining or is constraining these walls in this case. To see what that dimension actually is, you can select this and click the EQ again, like that, and it shows you the dimension. But note that these are still now they're actually not constrained. If we tick it back on, they're constrained again, and we can pick any one of these. And as we move it, and it drags, it maintains that equal spacing between them. So this is something that's really handy to do when you've got, say, we'll look at it when we do windows or furniture and things like that, and we want them to be equally spaced in our project. That's a really handy tool to use in there. All right, next thing we're going to look at is quickly the view control bar and creating sections. So now we're going to look at properties quickly. So the first thing is changing the type. So if we look at this, take this wall for example, or perhaps let's say this wall here. To change this type, it's really simple in Revit. Once you've got an object in there, it's really easy to swap it out for something else. And all you do is you select it like so, and then come up to the properties, click this here, and then you can pick from any other wall type. So let's say if I want to change this to a brick 230, I can just click this, And you can see that's instantly changed that wall out. That changes throughout the project again. It's not just in this view. If I go like this, we can change it again. So let's change it to 30mm toilet partition, for example, or back to stud timber 90, like that. That's a really easy way, and that applies for everything, not just walls, but pretty much every element in Revit. You can easily select it and then swap it out for another type of that category. So you can't, when I pick this wall, I can't change this to, a chair or like a piece of furniture or a roof or something else. I can change it to but any other wall type that is currently loaded within the project. Next is modifying the properties. So if we take this wall, for example, again, we've got the two types of properties that we talked about. So the first type of properties is the one that we can see here, and that's the instance properties or the element properties. And changing anything in here will only affect this specific wall that's selected. And typically we don't have that much in here besides the levels that we want to change. But if I change this, for example, top constraint, and we say go up to level 2, for example, and we take a look in 3D view, we can see that wall now is going up to level 2. So it's only affected that wall, hasn't affected all of the stud timber 90 walls. It's just that one that we had selected. If I click back here to go back to our ground floor plan, and I'll set this back. So you need a top constraint back to level 1, like that. The next type of properties is the type properties. So to do that, we need to firstly select the object so that we can see the type up here. And then we just click edit type. And that gives us the type properties, which will change anything in here, will change all of the stud timber 90 walls throughout the project. So this is a really good way to manage your families and your objects in Revit. And we can come in here, for example, and we can change any of these, the core scale fill pattern, any of the details. We can give it codes and things if we like, and that'll apply that code or that pattern or whatever change we're making to this stud timber 90 throughout the project. Where a lot of these changes will typically happen will be in this edit in here. So if I click edit in here, it gives us this edit assembly, which is the same, looks exactly the same as the properties for floor, roof, and ceiling. And you can pretty much come in here. If I click this little preview button, we can see here a little preview in plan of what our wall looks like. And we have a little bit of information up the top. So the total thickness is, in this case, 90mm. But we can change some of these properties here. But I'm not going to change these right now because I'm going to show you how to do that when we create a new type. I'm going to cancel that. So if we did want to modify this, we typically want to create a new type. We usually try and leave all the defaults as they are in case we want to use them for something else or use them as a template to create a new wall type. So if you want to create a specific or custom wall, roof, floor, or ceiling type, you just come into the family and you click duplicate at this point and give it a name. So I might call this 90mm timber stud with 13mm plasterboard, both sides. Okay, so a descriptive name is actually really important in Revit. It's going to make it a lot easier to work and select. Hit enter. So you can see now we're in the type 90mm timber stud with 13mm plasterboard, both sides. We can click edit in here because we can see now we don't have the plasterboard. We've got the 90mm timber, but we don't have the plasterboard. So we come in here and we've got this here is basically a list of the layers within the wall. So you can see here the core boundary, 1 and 3. So this is what I was talking about earlier. So everything that's sandwiched between this core boundary and this core boundary layer here is the structure. So right now we've only got structure timber 90mm, which is actually correct for this wall type. So we've picked a wall type and we've duplicated a wall type that is quite similar to what we want, or the most similar that we can find. It's going to make our life a little bit easier. And now all we need to do is insert or add some layers. So add the plasterboard on the exterior side. So you can see that's on the top, and a plasterboard layer on the interior side, which is on the bottom. So if I pick interior side, in this case, insert, You can see it's added a layer in here. And if I use these up arrows, I can push this out to the exterior side like that. Then we can change the function to, let's say, finish. We could set the material by clicking this button. And I can just type in here, let's say plasterboard. Okay, gypsum wallboard is perfect. Go OK. And thickness, I can type 13 mil like that. You can see that's added now 13 mil layer. You can see a bit of that hatch or fill pattern there of the plasterboard to the outside of the wall. You can do the same thing again for the inside. So if I go insert and then press down, clicking down till it comes to the right location. So it's outside the core boundary because it's not structure. And I can change the function to finish again, change the material to gypsum wallboard, already selected, click OK, and change the thickness to 13 mil. You can see it's added that layer there again. That's the main thing that you need to worry about in here. Once you've added the right layers, you can probably ignore the rest for now and click OK. And we can see that it's modified this wall type, click OK. And if we jump in here, we can't, right now, there is actually an extra layer here, but we can't see, and that's because these lines are just so bold at this scale. So if this is ever happening, you want to just see in a bit more detail your lines, you've got this little option up here, thin lines, shortcut TL. So if you click that, it pretty much gets rid of the thickness of any line. So every line will show up really thin and the same thickness. So you can see in here now, we've got that, our 90 mil timber stud with 90 mil plasterboard both sides. We can see that wall type there has been created. If we go to our section, we can see the same thing again in here. So if I toggle off thin lines, you can see it's really bold. If I change the scale to, let's say, 1 to 20, we can see that there. You can see that plasterboard. If I dimension it from here, 13 mil. And drag this out so you can see it. You can see it's 90 mil on the inside, 13 mil either side, plasterboard. Okay, so that's pretty much it for properties. So we looked at instance properties and type properties and how to create new types, as well as how to easily swap them out. Now we're gonna have a quick look at the modify tab. So I'm gonna go to the ground floor. And I think we're going to run a little bit over time, but apologies for that. But this will all be recorded anyway. So if you get a chance to take a look back sometime during the week, that'd be great. Sorry again for running over time. So if we pick, just to look at the modify tab, we've got modify up here. And what we're mainly interested in right now is this modify sub panel here. So pretty much from this tool all the way to this tool here. So this little section here is what we're going to be predominantly using. So I'm going to show you how to use some of these. So firstly, we're going to start with the move command. So the move command. So the way we do that is we firstly select the objects we want. So I'm going to move this curved wall or this curved feature wall somewhere in this space here. So I can select this by clicking, holding down Control to get the plus sign, and then selecting it again. And to move it, we can just hover over. You can see it gives us a little move crosshair. And I can click and drag, holding down the left click to whatever location we want. So let's say there as an example. Another way to do it is to select it and then use the move tool if we want to move it more specifically. So the object's selected now, click move. And then all we need to do is pick the move start point. So it doesn't actually need to be on this wall, but if I say move from here up 1 meter, say like that, and click, it moves it an exact dimension in a specific direction. So I can click and drag and move that as well if we want. Next is to copy. So if we wanted to, for example, add some more walls here, we can, the copy tool, this is the copy tool here, but first again, we want to select the objects that we want to copy. So in this case, I'm just going to select the one, then click the copy tool, and then pick a start point and then an end point for the move or the copy. So if I just go from, say, here to, and kind of guess what, if I wanted it to be evenly spaced, I'd be kind of guessing how far it is. But let's say we want to move it to 1200, then click there and it's created an exact copy of that. If I just hit backspace to delete. If you want to, when you do want to copy a specific amount, you can select it, copy again, and you can use the existing objects in your project to move it the same amount. So if I pick from this endpoint here, for example, to this here, making sure that I'm moving horizontal, you can see there intersection horizontal, and click. Now that's the same distance, but as so the distance between this one and this one here is the same distance as it was from this one to that one there. So, and you can copy multiple things. So if we pick, for example, 3 of these, so just with my cursor, I've clicked from right to left. So this is a crossing window. So anything that crosses this window will be selected in this case, as opposed, you can see that those 3 are selected, as opposed to when I go from left to right, only things that are completely within that window will be selected. So in this case, nothing will actually be selected in here. So if I, to select it that way from left to right, I need to actually go around the whole window like that. And you can see that they become blue as they're being selected or not. So that right wall is now not being selected, just solid black. As I drag that a little further, you can see it bolding a little and showing a little blue. So if I let go of that, now they're all selected. And we can copy all 3. So if I go copy and I say go from this point and I drag across horizontally and snap there, it's copied 3 across at the exact same spacing because I moved 3 modules across. It takes a little bit of playing around, but it's really handy. You will get the hang of that. Next is rotate. So if I just delete those, rotate's quite straightforward. Again, you select the object first. You've got the rotate tool up here. You click, and the first thing you want to do is set the placement point. So you can see that it's currently rotating from the center there. You can see this little blue dot. That's the placement point. So we can grab that, click, hold, and drag it to another location. Say you want to rotate from there. Or you can, it's sometimes easy to just set the center of rotation like this by clicking place, and then you can actually just pick the point you want to rotate from. So let's say this endpoint here, if I click, now you can see we're going to rotate around that point. And all we do is pick the start and then pick the end. So click again, and it rotates that. Note that Revit takes care of the wall joins pretty nicely there. You don't need to worry about that too much. Okay, so that's rotate there. Just one thing with rotate and some of these tools like move, rotate, flip is that I'll just Control Z. If I select this and do rotate again, you often get an option down here to copy. So if I tick this copy on and set the center of rotation to there, note if you wanted a specific angle, you could type it in here, but I find it's better to manually draw it. So if you select here and then rotate, you can always type the angle in here as well. So say we want, let's say 30 degrees, I can just type 30, hit enter, and now that's copied that wall 30 degrees from that point. So because we had that previously ticked on. So I'll just hit escape to exit that command. Next is mirror. So let's go, what would be a good example here to mirror? Okay, let's use this line here, for example. Let's say we wanted to mirror, and I might just move these out a bit. So I'm going to hold down Control and select this. And then just with my keyboard, I'm just going to nudge to the right just to move this out. Here, like so. Okay. So there's 2 mirror types in Revit. There's mirror by picking axes here and mirror by drawing axes. So if you've already got the line that you want to use as your mirror to flip it, you can use the first one. Otherwise, you can use the second and manually draw it. So to mirror, again, we select the object that we want to mirror first. So this wall here, I'm going to mirror it around this wall. And because we already have this wall here, I can do mirror pick axes. And then we can come to this wall. You can see as I hover over that, it gives us a dashed line. So if I click that, it'll mirror that there and it flips it around that line. I'm going to hit backspace to delete. I'm going to try also just to draw. So say we wanted to mirror this wall on this side and we didn't have a line here, but we wanted to mirror it from a line roughly in this point. We can again select it, come up here to mirror draw axes. And if we come down here, I can draw a line anywhere I want. So I might just pick this endpoint here and draw up and click there. So it's going to create a mirror right on this dashed line. Click, and we can see that there. Note again that Revit's cleaned up the corners and it knows that it needs to extend and tidy that up in there. Last thing is to split and trim that I want to look at in here. So if you ever want to split a wall, really simple, you can use this little split element tool up here. So this one, you actually select the tool first, and then you can see it changes the cursor to like a little blade, and you just need to, you can see down here, it's saying select an element to split. So you can come over any element and split that. So let's say here, if I split that, you can see it's created a split in that wall there. Same in here, if we wanted to, say this wall, if we want to create a bit of an opening, I can click split there, hit escape, and then if I select any of these walls, you can see that they're now separate. And I can pick this little dot and drag that wall end out if I like to create a bit of an opening in there. Same in here, if I select that, we can drag it out like so. Note that if you bring it back, Revit will typically join it like that. So now we need to redo that split. So if I Control Z, we've got that split there. We can also play with these temporary dimensions. So if we wanted this gap here, for example, to be 900, type 900 in there, enter, and it shifts that wall to suit. And the last tool was the trim, which is often used in combination with split. So often we'll split something and then we'll trim it to tidy it up a little. So an example might be, if I drag this back out here, we might want to enclose this little space in here. Basically extend this line to there, like so, and this wall back to there. So we can do it the way I've just done it by selecting these little dots and dragging walls in and out. Okay, but we can also, there's a bit of an easier way, and that is to use the trim or extend to corner. So if we click this tool here, and then you can see down in the hints, it's giving us select the first line or wall to trim or extend. Click on the part you want to keep. So if I pick this line here, and then if I hover over this wall, you can see it's giving us a dashed line showing us what the final product's going to be. So I want to click on the side I want to keep. So this line here, and it trims or extends, in this case, these walls to suit. If I just do Control Z, just keep in mind that because this is quite different to AutoCAD and some other tools, in that in this case, you're always picking on the side you want to keep. Typically on other tools and other programs, you click on the side you want to trim off or cut off and get rid of. So you make sure you pick this tool and pick this. If I was to pick this side now, you can see that dashed line is coming down. So it's going to actually get rid of the part that we wanted. So Control Z. So trim, pick the part we want to keep, pick the part we want to keep, and it extends that and creates a nice little smooth corner. That's pretty much it for the Modify tab. Have a play around with some of the other tools as well. Array is really handy. It's kind of like copy, but doing it over and over if you want to array quite a few things or copy quite a few things. Scale is another handy one. And this one here, trim, extend, single element. So this will just extend a single element. So if I pick this, for example, and pick this wall as the reference, and then pick this line, it just extends that line to the first wall that we picked. So I'm going to create level 2, and that's really simple. We could go to our level 1 floor plan and start drawing over this. So what we can see in gray is the ground floor plan, and the reason we can see it is because over here in the properties in underlay, we've got ground floor selected. If I click no and hit apply, or none, sorry, and hit apply, we can see that there's nothing currently on our level 1 floor plan. So I'll just set this back to ground floor for a second. So what we can do, however, is we can go to our ground floor, and might actually do this with the 3D view. So if we select, what we're going to do is basically select a bunch of objects, so our walls and our floor, and copy it to the level above. So if I select the floor there, hold down Control, hover over one of these walls, these exterior walls, and hit Tab. Notice that it selects all of those walls, or it's wanting to select that complete chain of walls. If I hold down Control to add it to the selection and hit the plus sign, it's now got selected all 5 elements. So if I click the filter, you can see there's 4 walls selected and 1 wall. And if we click OK, we can now copy this. So if we come up here to in our modify tab, click copy to clipboard, which is the same as Control C. We can now go to paste, and we can paste it aligned to a selected level. So if I click that, and we can pick level 1 from here and go OK. And it's basically copied everything from there and pasted it to level 1 above. If we look at it in elevation, it's actually really clever in constraining the top of the walls. Oh, you can see this here. So paste it from ground floor to level 1. And if we select these walls, if I just hover over one of these walls and hit Tab, we can change the top constraint as well in here to level 2. Oh, sorry, with an offset of 0, and hit apply. And now that's going straight up to level 2. If we grab level 2 and move it up or down, those walls will move with it. So if we look at it in the 3D view, we've got 2 levels of our building. So what we're going to do now is, if we go to our level 1 plan, we might want to change, let's maybe rotate this wall, this top level a little bit. So if I just hover over one of these walls, hit Tab and select, it'll select all 4 of those walls. And then we can use the rotate to rotate this. So I might go from here and rotate, let's say, come out here and just 90 degrees, 3D view.
All right. Thanks, guys, for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and check out the channel for more videos. Any comments or questions, please leave them below and I'll respond to each of those. And other than that, have a fantastic day.